Welcome back to Intuitive Vibes. Erica here. First and foremost, if you are new to the channel and you've managed to go through some of my content, if you enjoy it, if you find it to be helpful, please be sure to hit the subscribe button because I do update my content often. Also, I managed to make a playlist. So now if you're looking for a specific video, these videos are under categories that correlate specifically with those videos. So for example, if you're looking for a video pertaining to narcissists in your family, there is a category that has all of the videos for all narcissists relating to family members. All right. I figured that'd be an easier way if you wanted to skim through it, just to kind of find a particular video. But please be sure to check it out, go through them. If you have any comments, suggestions, I'm always open for it. And of course, to all of my existing subscribers, welcome back. Now in this video, what I wanted to talk about was the narcissist, of course, but the narcissist during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we all know that we are forced to stay home. We're quarantined in our homes. We're told to, prevent spreading of the virus, that we have to stay within the confines of our home unless we are working essential jobs. So if you are working an essential job, please be safe. But we are also told that we have to enforce social distancing. Okay. Now, these are all measures that we're told we need to do to keep ourselves safe and, of course, to keep others safe. But if you think that this pandemic would stop a narcissist, you're wrong, because it won't. In actuality, this pandemic is all more the reason of why they're going to Hoover. Now, one would think that since we're told we have to stay home and we have to, be as isolated as possible to avoid spreading this virus, that if a narcissist is told to do that, maybe they would self-reflect. Maybe they will stop for a second and think to themselves and see what it is like to, for lack of a better term, be locked up. You would think that. And in a perfect world, that would be the case. Unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. Therefore, that is far from the truth. Now, in this video, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the narcissists that live with you, be it if it's your relative, be it if it's your spouse. And I want to talk about the narcissists that do not live with you, but may use this pandemic as a reason to try to hoover you back in their web. Now, as we know, narcissistic people are entitled people, okay? And they feel that they do not have to follow the rules. Even though everyone is told to follow the rules, a lot of these people who suffer from this personality disorder, they feel otherwise. Well, I'm not sick, so why should I be inconvenienced? Well, I should be able to go outside. I'm not going to miss my day of hanging out or hanging with friends, going to certain places, doing what it is that I want to do. Why should I restrict myself because everybody else is doing something to yet again screw up this world? That's their mind. Their mind frame is in that sense. They feel no need to follow the rules and be like everyone else when they're special people. They're more entitled. So they should be okay in doing what they want to do. No harm, no foul. And as we know with narcissistic people, you can't change their mind on what they think about themselves, no matter how hard you try. So why even try? Why even bother? But I want to go over more so the narcissists that you know personally, the narcissists that would react in certain ways, especially during this crisis. Now, if you're living with a narcissist, let's say you're living with your relatives, living with a narcissist can be pretty tough, okay? And especially where you're pretty much put between a rock and a hard place. This pandemic has put a lot of us between a rock and a hard place. Now, fortunately for me, I live alone. I live with my son, but not everyone is so fortunate. You have other people who live with narcissistic people and they're on that border of losing their mind because they've lived with them throughout their lives. And granted, it's not the greatest experience for them, but now being put in a position where you're forced to stay in this same vicinity as the narcissist, that's tough. That's tough. And if there's anybody who's forced to do that, I commend you if you are able to get through this, because I'm pretty sure that with a lot of people having to stay home, if you are dealing with a narcissist, it can be a really tough thing to do. But there are things that you can do during this crisis while living with the narcissist. And again, whether it's your spouse or whether it's your relatives, you're quarantined with them. So I want to give you just a few tips on how to create manageability in dealing with the narcissist until all is said and done. And also the attempted Hoover from external narcissists, which generally would include your exes. Because during this time, this is the time where a lot of manipulative people are going to use this crisis to try and tug at your heartstrings. So be very, very careful. As I always say, use discernment. Don't fall for the bullshit. Don't fall for the lies. And do not let people walk all over you. All right? So we're just going to get into it, guys. The tips on how to deal with the narcissists during this pandemic. Now, the first one is learning what is and is not negotiable. Now, during this crisis, if you're living with a narcissist and you have nowhere to go, yet you're forced to stay behind the four walls with them, do not let them get away with any and everything. This is going to be the ample time that the narcissist is going to use this crisis, okay, as a stepladder to manipulate more, to abuse, to gaslight. You got to be careful with this. Now, because you don't have anywhere else to go and you have no choice but to deal with it, you guys have to come to a common ground, and you have to let the narcissist know, due to the situation, I'm forced to be here. But if I'm going to be here, we're going to have to meet halfway with one another. Now, I know that sounds like talking to a brick wall if you do that. But if you understand your role with a narcissist, you'll understand why the narcissist needs you around, especially during this time. Because if they are forced, and by forced, I mean, if authorities are saying this has to be done, and if you don't follow the rules, there are consequences, I don't think a narcissist is really going to go up against that. And if they do, then they got more balls than I thought. But the reality of it is that if the narcissist is still in that dynamic, in that they need you within the household, even though they try to make it seem as if you need them, you need to use your leverage. You need to basically make it clear to them. As much as I need to be here because I don't have anywhere else to go, I know for a fact you need me here too. So we're either going to meet halfway on this or use your leverage. And by leverage, I mean explain to them, I know why you need me here. Okay? We have to deal with this until all of this is said and done. But at the end of the day, narcissists love to push buttons. They love to push buttons, and they love to really poke and prod, enough to the point where you may have some type of outburst. Don't fall for that. Do not fall for that, because it could end up really bad to the point where somebody can get hurt or possibly even get arrested. You don't want to deal with that. Okay? So as much as you obviously need to be within the vicinity, within the household of the narcissist, if it gets to that point and you are forced to leave, you're forced to leave. Okay? I'd rather try to find a friend, a good trustworthy friend that may be able to put up with me for a while, than deal with that. The next one is know when you're being gaslighted. All right. Now, we are familiar with the gaslighting techniques that narcissists and manipulators use. This is where you have to really, really dig deep, use your intuition, because if you're forced to be in the same household with this person or these people, you're going to have to now buckle up and pay more attention. You're going to have to pay attention to every single detail, every single thing that's going on in the household. You're going to have to pay attention to the things that they're saying, the things that they're doing, because remember, it's all at their advantage. You're going to have to really make sure that your intuition is in high gear during this time. Okay, because Again, you're forced to be there. You're forced to be there. But like I said, gaslighting, listen, they've done it before. They can find many different ways to try to gaslight you, especially during a crisis. My best suggestion on this is get a notebook, okay? Get a notebook and write down what it is that they said at that time, okay? Put the date, write down what they said, write down the occurrence. I always tell people, make sure you notate things. Make sure you gather proof of things, because when everything is said and done and the dust settles, you're going to see full force. Because before this crisis even happened, you have seen what they were doing. You have seen certain things. You weren't too sure. But being cooped up with a narcissist during a pandemic, when you're forced to be quarantined at home, trust me, get you a notebook, a little composition notebook, and write down the events, the occurrences, write down the dates. Hell, if you know the time, write down the time. Take notes of everything, because gaslighting, it'll make you feel like you're crazy. The next one is, do not tolerate outbursts, disrespect. You know how narcissists are. The narcissistic rage, the stupidity, the nonsense. Don't tolerate that. Okay? You can express in a calm manner. Express it to them. Express to them, we're cooped up here. Okay? And I'd appreciate it if you either kept your distance, or if you are going to come around me, you be human around me. Now, if the narcissist or narcissists, because you might have more than one, don't know. But if they decide not to, if they decide to continue in their immature ways, then your best bet is to keep as much distance from them as possible, which can generally include, if you have a separate room from the narcissist, stay in that room. Stay away from them as much as possible. Avoid them if you can. If you're married to your narcissist, avoidance can be difficult, it can be difficult. And this is a relationship you choose to stay in. So if you choose to stay in this relationship and you know the circumstances, the consequences, but you choose to still deal with it, then you have to understand that this pandemic is not helping your situation. Maybe for some people who are married to narcissists or who are involved with them, they deal with it because they don't have as much contact with them, especially like in the love bombing stage. But considering the fact that you are forced to be in the same room with them, the same house with them, I'm pretty sure a lot of people will see so much that I wouldn't be surprised that by the time all of this is said and done, the divorce rate that's going to probably happen when the time comes. But if it's a family dynamic, avoidance probably wouldn't be as difficult, wouldn't be as hard, whether it's your parents or any other relatives that live in the home with you. It probably wouldn't be hard at all, because at the end of the day, you can pick and choose your spouse, but you can't pick and choose your family. And I've said this before, you can pick and choose if you want to deal with your family or not. And under these circumstances, unfortunately, if you don't have the plan to set forth on what it is that you need to do within your life independently, and you are forced to stay in these dynamics, then the best bet would be just to avoid as much as possible. All right. But it does not mean that they have the right to treat you in a bad way. They have the right to disrespect you. They have the right to do whatever it is they want to do, because you're pretty much shit out of luck. The next one, compromise. Okay. Now, just because your narcissist wants certain things, they want everything, they want this, they want that, doesn't mean that they have to get it. And even if they try to use emotional manipulation, if they try to use guilt, they try to use, different tactics to get you to fold, you don't fold. Don't fold under pressure. Okay? You can come to a compromise and explain that to them. We're either going to compromise, you get nothing at all. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking for 100% and someone's telling me I'll give you 60% or nothing at all, That 60% will look good to me compared to 0%. You understand? But at the same time, do not let them guilt trip you into giving into their every whim. Okay? That's not compromise. No, narcissists don't even know the term compromise because it's always about them. It's always about what they want. It's always about things going their way. Given these circumstances, no, we're going to compromise. You may teach a thing or two to the narcissist during this pandemic, okay? Because at the end of the day, they can sit there and threaten and they can say, oh, well, you know what? If you don't do this, you don't do that, you go for your new supply. Where you going to find it? Where? Ain't nobody outside. Everybody's home. You understand? They're going to basically try their best because since they can't manipulate anyone externally, they can't manipulate anybody else outside of the home during a global crisis, they're going to try it on you. Do not fold. The next one is maintain your self-esteem. Now, if you're quarantined with your narcissist, especially if it's your spouse, your self-esteem is probably going to take a pretty big hit. All right? Because you already know how they are. You know what they do. They like attacking self-esteem. Why? Because they're insecure. Now, let's keep something clear here. You already know all of these things. You already have your own leverage. If you already know how the narcissist is and you already know what they are capable of, chances are you're immune to it. And chances are you're not going to allow it to really get to you. But for those who are forced to be in this dynamic and have not fully gone through the recovery stages or have not fully gone through what it is they need to go through, educating themselves in regards to these types of people, guard your self-esteem. If you are aware that the person you're with or the person you're living with is a narcissist, or you suspect that they are, and you've seen all these videos and you know this is a tactic, these are all tactics. These are all chess moves, okay? Protect your self-esteem. Value yourself, okay? Keep telling yourself. Self-love is the most important thing here, okay? You have enough self-love for yourself. You don't even need any kind of validation from them. But being quarantined with them and being stuck in the same house with them and actually having to deal with this for God knows how long, because they're talking months, you have to really, really dig deep within yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror every day, okay? No, I'm not conceited, but I look in the mirror every day and I tell myself, I'm loved, I'm beautiful, I'm appreciated. Make sure you validate yourself, okay? That's the key thing. The only opinion that matters is your own. Don't put up with any kind of verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. You make sure that you stay on point with yourself, right? And don't isolate yourself. By that, I mean, if there is abuse going on, go to someone you really trust. But I'm going to tell you this, because if you're dealing with a family member, and hell, even if you're dealing with a spouse who is a narcissist, don't go to family members. And the reason I say this is because if you're dealing with a family member who is a narcissist, chances are you're playing devil's advocate by going to someone that is within the dynamic, okay? Because a lot of family members can be biased. Now, I'm not knocking family members, but I'm saying this. You may need to go to someone external, someone who doesn't know anybody, someone who's not going to create conflict of interest. Because if you have a family member and even a spouse who is a narcissist and you go to other family members, you're pretty much done. Because chances are those family members, it's going to get right back to that narcissist that's in your life. And that's going to create more problems, especially if you're stuck in the home with that narcissist. Okay? You want to deal with someone, you want to talk to someone, confide in someone who has no bearings, no interest in the situation whatsoever, who will not be biased to the situation. The best bet, contacting a therapist. That's the best bet. Okay? Given the fact that we are going through this crisis right now, you have therapists that do take calls, they do FaceTime, they do emails, they do anything. That's your best bet, because a therapist, they have no interest. And by that, I mean personal interest. A therapist is a complete stranger who is listening to your problems, listening to your issues, possibly giving you advice on what you should do, professional advice at that. And you don't have to worry about them going back and saying anything because there's that confidentiality clause. So that would be your best bet. Now, what I want to talk about this time is the hoovering tactics that a narcissist would use during this pandemic. Now, you would think, why would the narcissist try to hoover me when they can't even come in contact with me? They can't do, we can't have physical contact. Now, granted, that is the case. But understand something. During this pandemic, there is no socializing, no physical socializing. Okay? And a narcissist, when they see that they cannot get more supply, or basically it's been halted, they can utilize this time to try to hoover you. Now, the narcissist, the external narcissist, which more than likely would be your ex, can try many different tactics to get you to respond to them, get you to maybe feel pity for them, whatever the case may be. Now, narcissists can be anybody, right? Let's just say your narcissistic ex is a first responder. That is a possibility. Let's not limit to, I give it to all the first responders who are out there. And it probably, now that I think of it, I don't know. Because first responders have to put other people before themselves. So we might have to look into that one. Really might have to look into that one. But if the narcissist is trying to hoover you during this crisis, it's because their supply has run extremely low. Their plans have been foiled, and you're the best bet. Now, the possibilities are endless. Maybe a Hoover tactic didn't work before. And they gave it some time, and holy crap, we have a pandemic. We have a crisis. And you know what? Maybe this is the perfect time to try to creep back in. Now, a narcissist is capable of doing anything. We know that narcissists are capable of lying. So who knows? They may lie and say, oh, I got sick and I tested positive, and now we're just waiting. We're trying to figure out what's going on. They'll tug at your heartstrings. My cousin got sick. My mom got sick. My aunt got sick. My grandmother got sick. And, I'm so distraught, and they're displaying fake vulnerability. Okay? They're tugging at your heartstrings. They could even possibly pop up, even though they're not supposed to, but they can do that too. Narcissists are capable of doing anything. They will stoop that low. They'll stoop as low as lying about this virus, that they've contracted it, or someone close to them has contracted it, or the fact that this virus made them realize life's too short. So, let's make amends. Let's try to, talk things through. Go back to my Hoover tactics, please. Go back to the signs of a final discard before the discard, okay? Because now they're going to use the, what are we arguing about? Why are we isolating ourselves from each other? We've been in each other's lives, and look at what's going on in the world. Let's change it. Let's change everything. Okay? We need to be together. We need to use this as a sign that, this is stupid. This is stupid. We've been through so much, and seeing everything that's going on in the world, I've had some time to reflect. I've had some time to sit there and think about things and how much I really love you, how much I really care about you, how much I really miss you. Okay? Even though they won't say this, even though I treated you like shit, even though I talked down to you, even though I degraded you and made you feel like you were nothing to me, all because I was entertaining everybody else and doing everything that I wanted to do, and knowing that you were in so much pain, so much sorrow, and you had to deal with your pain on your own. I didn't give a damn about you. But you know what? I've learned the errors of my ways. How many of you have heard the saying, the devil was once an angel before he became fallen? Okay? The devil can come in the form as an angel of light. That's exactly what a narcissist is. They'll use charm. They'll use vulnerability. They'll use this global pandemic. They will stoop so low to get what they want. Okay? They will even use this pandemic and the fact that there is social media. Because narcissists will do that too. They can use social media to gain their supply that way. Gaslight people. They don't even have to be themselves. They don't even have to pretend as much because they're not physically in contact with people. So while they're trying to Hoover you, you really think they ain't trying to boost up that supply somewhere else? Think about that. Bottom line is, this crisis that we're facing it's like a feast for a narcissist. It's like getting all the supply that they want, superficial supply, be it if it's online, be it if they're trying to Hoover you, be it if they are getting attention while they're going to Starbucks to get their fucking mocha lattes. Does not matter. They will use this crisis to try their best to get what they can out of you, whether they live with you, whether they're your family, whether they're your spouse, whether they're your ex. They will use this as a way to tug at your heartstrings and then create the whole manipulative platform. Don't fall for it, guys. Please do not fall for it. Well, guys, the narcissist tactics, the narcissists themselves are 24/7. Okay, whether we're in a global crisis or not, this is just who they are. It just so happens that this particular type of situation, especially since we're forced to stay home, we're forced to be in places possibly some people don't even really want to be. This is their Thanksgiving feast. This is their way of either I'm going to try to Hoover or gain supply in other ways, or do both. So while they're trying to worm their way back into your life, better believe, they're probably leading a few people on as well. Because one way or another, they're going to get their supply by any means necessary. It's really sad, guys. But all in all, I do hope the video was helpful. I hope it gave you a little bit of comfort in knowing that you do in some way have some leverage. You do have your spine. You're not a spineless jellyfish. You are someone who's strong enough to say no. And it is what it is. And if they try to push you to that point, please don't let them. Don't let them push you to any point. If it gets to a point where it becomes violent, just walk away. Anywhere you can go, any place you can stay that is safe for you, just walk away. All right? And as far as the hoovering tactics are concerned, trust me, you'll know. You'll know. You're smart enough to know. You're smart enough to know, because especially if you haven't heard from them and they just all of a sudden, someone's sick, trust me, you'll know. You will know. Well, everyone, that's it for now. I do hope that each and every one of you are staying safe during this crisis. I hope each and every one of you are staying sane during this crisis, and that you're following the rules. You know, all in all, we do have rules that we have to follow, especially if we want to stay healthy. So please be sure to keep your sanity. Stay in your Zen mode, okay? Just stay in there. And don't let anybody penetrate that. And once the dust settles, you get to decide what you want to do from that point. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was helpful. And until next time, I will be speaking with you all soon. Mwah. Namaste.